Trying to get inside the mind of the dictator leading the Russian siege in Ukraine. Many have tried to predict Vladimir Putin's moves. Many have failed. What is his end game, and what is he going to do next? Dr. Barry McManus served in the CIA for 26 years as a chief forensic psychologist. He's also an expert in U.S. intelligence, interrogation, behavioral assessment, and national security policy. Dr. McManus, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for joining us. Words used to describe Vladimir Putin in the last week: more stiff, more isolated, clinical, determined. What do you notice about his public demeanor?
Well, first, what I can contribute to this conversation is the human side of President Putin. As a psycho-physiologist, as someone who has talked with foreign leaders and Soviet defectors in the past, and with people that have found themselves in the position like President Putin, you must understand that President Putin is, in my opinion, an egomaniac, someone who is psychologically, in my opinion, preoccupied with his own identity and self. President Putin's preoccupation of his own ungoverned impulses makes him very difficult to accurately predict his next move. So the million-dollar question, as you say, Marnie, what will be his next moves?
Well, and if he is in fact an egomaniac, as you say, someone like that, what happens when they are further isolated? You're talking about the Russian people, the oligarchs, some of them turning their backs on him, even some of those closest to him not agreeing with what he has to say. What happens then when he finds himself alone?
Well, I think there's been some idea that President Putin is isolated and paranoid. Well, is he? My question would be, is he really? I think his personal greatness of grandeur that he sees in himself makes him unpredictable. If you think about it, and if you look at President Putin's speech, I think he gave to the Russian population on Ukraine on February the 21st, he talked to the Russian people. And you look at this guy, he was not disheveled in his appearance, although he had shown some verbal anger in his speech and his choice of words. He still came across very emotionally controlled.
Well, let's talk about, some of his behavior. I mean, a day after the invasion, Putin described President Zelensky's government as a band of drug addicts and neo-Nazis. So on the one side, as you say, he may have a huge ego and he may have some support. On the other side, is he out of his mind? Does this statement, neo-Nazis, drug addicts, indicate that he may in fact be out of touch with reality? He has different facts than the rest of the world?
I don't think he has different facts, and I think a lot of that is political grandstanding in a sense. Obviously, I mean, the country, Zelensky is not a Nazi. I mean, he's Jewish. So the idea of the country being run by neo-Nazis is not crazy, but I think it's political rhetoric that he is using that as a means of his own disguise of what he really wants. And you may think, what does President Putin really want? And in my opinion, he wakes up every morning seeing the enemy in his mind as NATO. And he understands the results of his aggression. He understands that him entering Ukraine is a much bigger question. And what we ask ourselves, does he care about what will happen? And I really don't think he does. So I think he'll say just about anything that will sort of revel the mindset of people on both sides, in Russia and in Ukraine.
You make a very scary point, given the fact that in 2018, Putin talked about nuclear war and said such a conflict would end in Russians going, quote, to heaven as martyrs. Do you believe, based on what we know, which is not a lot about his mindset right now, that he's capable of that?
Well, I think right now we're all guessing. I mean, this is not that long. I mean, we've followed Putin for the last 10 years of his relationships with a lot of different people, the president of China, et cetera. And I think right now we're at a point where we're all grasping for what's on this man's mind. Is he crazy? Is he not? And I don't think he is. In my opinion, to sum up, sort of President Putin in a nutshell, he's not an idiot at all. He's not crazy, in my opinion. His goal is simply to seek personal power. He wants to control Ukraine, to set up his own government in his own mind and in his history as he writes it. However, he finds himself now in a position with the Ukrainians who are willing to die and to fight to the end. I don't think he saw that coming, as a lot of leaders don't. They get involved in conflicts around the world and they may stage a number of options of what they would do. But in this case, I think he underestimated what would happen in Ukraine upon the invasion. And do I think he would put nuclear war? I don't know, but my guess would be probably not. And I think whether you would think other Russians would, oligarchs would come and persuade him not to, but I think other partners such as, and I say partners, when you look at China, I mean, you're talking about two men that have been so-called bosom buddies for the last 10 years. Really, are they? And if you look at President Xi over the past couple of days and weeks, I truly don't think he had anticipated President Putin invading the Ukraine. I think he would rather have it be some type of political negotiation or settlement. But I think he's also on that sort of borderline. President Xi is also in a difficult position, because what happens with Russia and Ukraine does have an impact on the global economy. And I don't think China wants that. So it's a tough road over the next, in the future. It will be a tough road for both China, for Russia, and the West.
Just real quick, the resistance that Putin and the Russian forces are coming up against with the Ukrainian army must be frustrating. As you said earlier, he didn't expect that. What does that do to his determination, given what we know about his personality, his character, his mission and motivation to do what he's doing?
Knowing who Putin is, I think that will make him even more determined. Being somewhat of a narcissistic personality, someone that's not going to necessarily go after advice from anyone else other than his own gut feel. I mean, he's an old-time KGB intelligence officer. If you're going to put his back up against the wall, he's like a bear trapped up against the forest. He's going to fight his way out. Now, what does that mean? What options does he have? Well, he can go all the way and face tragedy of war and consequences. He can back out and be humiliated, or he can back out with some type of negotiation to save face. But in the end, if he is going to back out and under some type of negotiation, saving face will be big for him. That's the personality you have sitting in front of you.
Chilling insight tonight. Dr. Barry McManus, former CIA, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.